So, have you noticed that items that you used to buy are getting smaller? Maybe the bag of chips seems a tad lighter in your hands. You could swear those snacks you got aren't as big as they used to be. Maybe you're pouring yourself a bowl of cereal and you're going, "Hold on, I used to get more out of this. Like, what's going on?" No, you're not crazy. Things are shrinking. Welcome to something called shrinkflation. Yep, there's another inflation taking the world by storm. And this one might actually make people more really upset, right? Maybe more so than inflation. Maybe, right? But shrinkflation, I mean, what is it? Well, shrinkflation is what happens when the items you buy shrink in size, but you're still paying the same price for them, right? So we're talking about, maybe you're paying $5 for that half gallon ice cream, right? But you're getting zero point 0.8 ounces less of, that ice cream. Or paying about $3.50 for that bag of candy, but getting 10 ounces instead of 12 ounces. Maybe dropping $3 for a box dessert snack, only to find out that the snacks inside of them are smaller. Right? Shrinkflation just boils down to paying the same price for an item, but getting less of it. Well, is shrinkflation the same as inflation? Well, shrinkflation isn't the same as inflation, but they go hand in hand. When the costs go up for some companies, right? The that product, or the company that they produce, they shrink the product to make up for the cost increase on their end, right? And that's how shrinkflation is born. So as of March 2022, the CPI, or the Consumer Price Index, which measures the average price of goods and services, shows that the inflation rate in the US has risen to about 8.5% over the previous 12 months. That's the biggest 12-month inflation surge in like 40 years. Yeah, another fresh 40-year record for you. Now, with those crazy record high inflation rates, I mean, it's no wonder that it's costing businesses more money to package items, right? And while a lot of products out there cost more these days, think about your groceries, they're getting expensive, right? Some companies have decided to shrink their product instead of raising prices. Well, shrinkflation. Now, the price for the food or goods goes up on the back end, but the consumer doesn't see it. So you're paying the same, maybe even a little more sometimes, but you're not getting as much. Like inflation, the purchasing power of your dollar doesn't go as far here, but for different reasons. Well, what causes shrinkflation? Okay. Shrinkflation can happen when the materials or ingredients that companies use to make their products, they cost more. So instead of raising the prices, they just give you less. But you know what the truth here? Shrinkflation is also caused by companies trying to keep their profit margins in place. In other words, they're making sure they're not losing money. Plain and simple. To make sure their bottom line is in tip top shape, they decide to shrink down their products by just a little bit. The change is so under the radar that companies think they can keep their profits just rolling in, all while the consumer really doesn't know. Companies are smart enough to know that a price hike will probably, catch your eye, but a little bit smaller bag or box, probably not so much. Moral of the story: companies are cutting corners on the amount of bang you get for your buck and hoping that you just don't notice. But some people are noticing. I mean, the last few months, social media has been chock full of people sharing their photos of smaller portions, right? There's even a full Reddit thread dedicated to shrinkflation. So, what are some of these examples? Well, if you want to see shrinkflation, just go look in the wild for yourself. All you got to do is look around at the products you're buying at the grocery store. But it's hard to see unless you're paying attention and comparing things. I mean, still, once you start noticing it, it's hard to not see it, right? Lately, people have called out companies like General Mills, and Tillamook for letting shrinkflation impact their products. General Mills cut back on the size of their family-sized box of cereal, shrinking it from 19.3 ounces down to 18.1 ounces. But guess what? The two sizes cost the same price, right? And then Tillamook, right? They decided to get out ahead of things and, flat out own up to the fact that they shrank their ice cream from 56 ounces to 48 ounces. But shrinkflation doesn't just stop with food products. Procter and Gamble, right? They made headlines for shrinkflation, hitting their toilet paper. All of a sudden, they were rolling out 244 two-ply sheets down from 264 two-ply sheets, right? And you can't mess around with people's toilet paper, right? I mean, you remember what happened in the TP shortage of 2020, right? Come on. No one can forget that. I mean, shampoo bottles shrink from 12 and a half ounces to 11 ounces. Still going to cost you $10. Maybe that bag of chocolate chips goes from 12 ounces to 10 and a half ounces. Still costs you almost $3.50. A family box of cereal, 19.3 ounces to 18.1, still $4. That toilet paper shrinks in, how much you're going to get out of it. So, instead of getting 14 rolls, now you get 10. So, what can you do about this? Well, I mean, you could make protest signs, call your congressman, and give them an earful about shrinkflation, right? Probably not. But even though you can't do much to stop shrinkflation, you can try to stay one step ahead of it. So here's a couple things you can do. Read the labels. A lot of folks already read the labels for health reasons. Good for you. But now there's another reason to pay attention to the fine print. See, if you don't know how many ounces are in the products you normally buy, then you won't notice a difference if they end up shrinking. Another thing you could do is buy generic items. Buying generic isn't bad, shrinkflation or not, but, we kind of love buying generic items because it's a good way to fight shrinkflation and save a little money. Your name brand pasta sauce might be $5 for 16 ounces, but the generic brand is $4 for 20 ounces. Well, save $1 and get more. You should hunt for sales. Now, I'm sure most of you are already doing this, but be on the lookout for ways to get more of the products you need without costing you more. AKA, keep your eyes peeled for them sales. Buy one, get one free coffee grounds? You bet. Half off orange juice? Sign me up. All right, another thing you can do is look at cost per unit. When you step back and take a look at how much each item costs you, right, cost per unit, you might find it's cheaper to buy in bulk. Now, some people already knew this. And especially if you have, staple items that you buy a lot that won't go bad too fast, doing bulk buys might cost you a little more on the front end, but they can save you money when you look at the cost per unit, right? How much you're paying per item. But that means you're going to have to do some math. So you could get out the calculator on your phone and crunch some numbers. Think total item price, right, divided by unit weight or the number, and that's the price per unit. So let's take an example of eggs. Let's say you have 12 eggs, and it's $1.95. So the total item price is $1.95 divided by 12 eggs. So you're paying 16 cents per egg. Then you could change the brands you buy. Now, as much as, you might wish, you could walk up to the Kellogg's factory and tell them to stop shrinking down the box of your favorite cereal they make, it doesn't really work that way. But what you can do is put your money where your mouth is. AKA, take your business elsewhere. If you're sick and tired of shrinkflation from the brands you're loyal to, start buying from other brands. Well, one of the last things you can do is make a budget. Now that you're not losing your mind by thinking everyone around you is shrinking, it's time to use your budget to tackle shrinkflation the same way you would use it to combat inflation. Sure, you can't control companies shrinking and skimping on your food, but you can take matters into your own hands and make sure your budget is ready for it. The best way to stay on top of your budget is actually to make one, right? Having a monthly budget will help you make sure you don't overspend and you do stick to your money goals every week, every month. That's because you'll be telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it all went. Like the way you wonder where the cereal went in that bag that's mostly air. Just like that. So, hopefully you guys can understand how important it is to pay attention to what you're buying and seeing that, even though with inflation your dollar it has less buying power at the same time, shrinkflation is making it even worse. So, pay attention to the amount of money you're paying for your items, and if you don't feel like you're getting a good deal, then you're probably not. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you got some good information on it to help you save some money, right? But if you liked it, smash that like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I'd appreciate it if you did. But until I see you guys in the next one, y'all be safe.